Great. It's 10:02, so we'll get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our lightning demos using data visualizations to create user-friendly apps. My name is Vasundhara. I'm a growth marketing manager at Retool, and I'm your host for today. We put this webinar together to show how a wide variety of our customers use Retool to build very visual apps. A lot of companies actually choose Retool to not only visualize data, but also create apps where you can add, change, and update it. Today, I'm joined by our customers, Getaround, Wheels, Archaeologic, and the PowerMBA. Everyone we hear from today has recently used Retool to build brand new product lines or internal tools from scratch. Our agenda for today is 5 to 10-minute presentations from each guest, followed by Q&A where you'll have plenty of time to ask any questions. So we will end promptly at 11. The event is being recorded and will be emailed to everyone who has RSVP'd. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature in the bottom navigation bar, and that will help us keep a track of your questions. With that, I'd love to introduce Kathy, our first speaker, a senior operations analyst at Getaround, the world's largest car sharing marketplace. Before Retool, Kathy's team was managing their parking data entirely in spreadsheets. Today, Kathy's going to show us how she built all of that functionality into a Retool app called Parkifier. Kathy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Vasundhara. Let me make sure I get this working. You see the screen okay? Awesome. Cool. Well, I am chiming in from Getaround today. I'm going to talk to you guys about how we use Retool to completely revamp our parking data infrastructure. I'm on the operations enablement team at Getaround. We are a small team within the company that focuses on building out internal processes and building internal tools for operations teams within the company. So as a part of our job, we're constantly learning. We work with API integrations and with data, so we have some familiarity with SQL, a little bit of Python, a little bit of JavaScript, all tools that clearly helped me have like a really good running start jumping into Retool, though the Retool documentation is amazing, and I definitely found myself Googling throughout the way. So for anyone who's new to all of those things, you will definitely be able to figure things out, even if you don't have that foundation. But yeah, so quick overview for today. Gonna introduce Getaround and our mission for those who aren't familiar. Introduce Parkifier, which is what we at Getaround call all of our parking data. Show you what it looked like before Retool, then jump into what it looks like after Retool and a quick demo. Then I want to highlight the key Retool components that we found to be most impactful when building out this app, and then highlight what's next and what this project has enabled for us. So first off, Getaround, we are a peer-to-peer car sharing platform. We operate globally, but primarily in the US and Europe. And our mission is to connect safe, affordable, and convenient cars with the people who need them to live and work. But specifically, this project focuses on connecting hosts, which are what we call the owners on our platform who share their cars, with safe, convenient, and affordable parking spots to park those cars. So we actually have a full parking locations team within the company that's dedicated to sourcing and managing parking locations that we then offer to our hosts to place their cars. So what is Parkifier? Up until recently, it was a huge, really difficult to use Google spreadsheet that contained all of our parking data. This includes parking vendor information, parking location information, parking subscriptions, what we all, like you'll hear me refer to as subscriptions and registries interchangeably, but basically the car to location mapping, and then access card information for locations as well. So needless to say, probably, there are a lot of issues with having all this information in a Google spreadsheet. First off, no validation, a lot of, very error-prone data, a lot of issues with information being inaccurate or invalid. Size constraints. We were quickly approaching the maximum size of the spreadsheet. It was very slow to load, very difficult to navigate. Then limited integration options, just having this in a sheet makes it difficult to integrate into our product or really with any other tool except using it in a spreadsheet. and then poor data visibility. As a result of it being in the sheet, we can't really leverage other BI tools to help visualize and report on that information. So quick preview of what it looks like after, now that it is in Retool. On the back end side of things, we were able to move all of that data from Sheets into a BigQuery database. So that has been huge in making our data more scalable and just having like tighter grasp on what's going in and out of there. Here is an example of inserting a new record into one of our tables. And then just probably most importantly, just a clean and easy to use tool that makes it much more enjoyable to actually work with this data. So real quick, I'm going to give you a demo. So this is the parking registry page where we see the cars that are in locations. And if we want to go and add a car, we would first probably check to make sure it doesn't already have a registry. This one doesn't, so we want to add a new one. We enter the car name here to make sure we check against our Getaround's API. If I type in the name incorrectly or something, I'm going to get an invalid car name message and not be able to continue. So once I fix that, I can go ahead. I can select the location where I want to park this car. Once I do that, I'm going to get back the number of locations that are available or spots available at that location. Looks like I'm all good to move forward here. And then I just have a few more bits of information: access card number if one is being assigned, the start date, so the day the car is moving into that location, as well as the Stripe payment information for that host. So once I enter all of that and submit the parking registry, you'll see it reflected in the table. And there are now other actions we can take. For example, if we notice that the start date was entered incorrectly, I can click on the edit record button on the left, and the values I just entered will pop back up, and I can just go in and edit that start date. Let's make it July 15th and go ahead and submit. And we'll see that reflected in the table. And if we happen to know ahead of time what day this car is planning to leave that location, let's say it's the end of August, I can click the stop button and add in an exit date for that car subscription as well. Once I submit that, you'll notice that the edit and stop buttons actually become disabled. And that's just, that's a choice from the parking team to not allow records to be edited once the exit date has been added. Just for confirming availability for the future of that location. And if you wanted to extend or move that car to a new location, you would just add a new registry for that car. All right, so there we go. I want to highlight some of the really, really impactful Retool components that we use in the app. First off, the modals component, we use it all over. It's basically a button that opens a pop-up where we can set up a sub workflow very seamlessly within a page, and it's just an awesome, very clean, very intuitive, and we found it the most helpful. Along those lines, the wizard tool, you see here, a wizard is actually on top of a modal, so you click the button, open the modal, and you see the wizard, and the wizard is awesome because you can set up step-by-step processes with logic in between each step. So here you see, and you saw in the demo, if you don't enter a valid car name, I don't actually allow you to proceed with setting up that registry. So wizards, awesome. Forms we also use throughout the tool for both adding and editing records, and it's just a really simple way to, fill in all the information for record. You can set up validation for each field, and it's really easy to grab the data points from the form for use in other components. And then lastly, the buttons we found to be extremely helpful, especially on the parking registry tab, where there are a lot of actions that you can take. So you saw me demonstrate the edit and end registry features, where you also have other buttons there that open up web pages, like in the Stripe dashboard, as well as the card page, our internal card page for that car, stuff like that. It's just very, very helpful and intuitive. So with all that said, this project has really opened up a lot for us moving forward. With these data guardrails in place to ensure that the data is as accurate as possible, we have confidence in scaling this data, and as a result, our parking operations, which we couldn't have really said before. Second, with these clean data in a proper data warehouse, we can now leverage BI tools that we weren't able to previously to enable reliable reporting, both financial teams and operations teams within the company, so we can understand how we're doing. And then lastly, the data are now one step closer to being ready to integrate into our product, which means we can hopefully get closer to moving this from being an internal process handled by our agents to, and into our hosts' hands, so that they can actually be finding and requesting parking for their cars on their own. So all of this work has definitely made that a lot more possible in the near future. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I want to say thank you to all the Retool support members who answered many questions and continue to do so as we build out new apps. They're all amazing. Thank you so much.
Kathy, that was amazing. It was great to see what you've built and also the impact for Getaround's business. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Wheels. Joining us from sunny Los Angeles, Pad, Director of Product, and Zach, Lead iOS Engineer. Wheels used Retool to build a region validator for their operations and customer support teams. Their tool is super interactive, using GeoJSON as well as Retool's Maps component. I'm really excited for Pad and Zach to demo it. Please show us the way.
Thank you for the kind intro. Hi, I'm Pad. I'm the Director of Product at Wheels. I'm here today with my colleague, Zach, who's our lead iOS engineer and actually is the person who built the tool. So excited to have him demo it for you today. Just a quick agenda, go through what is Wheels, who are we, sort of define what our problem was, who the users were, demo the product, and then talk about what's next for us. So what is Wheels? We are a micromobility e-company. This is our device, a little different than the scooters. It's a two-wheeled seated electric bike, no pedals. We launched in August 2018. We're currently permitted in 20 international cities, and we offer a variety of different products. One being the short-term single ride, so what you might be most familiar with, pick up and drop off anywhere in a city. Long-term, where we actually rent our bikes out for 30 days plus, and we recently have launched a business line for personal ownership. So what was the problem, and who are we solving this for? We are a locations business. Everything we do is determined by the location of the user, the location of the bike. One of our biggest partners is our cities. So cities, have a variety of rules and regulations that they want us to follow. They want the bike to operate in a certain way, in a certain place, and left in a certain location. And as Wheels, we wanted to define our own rules about how a bike works, the pricing, the speed, hours of operation, even the user experience. These rules are, dynamic. They're constantly changing. They might change month over month. They're temporal. So, if a farmer's market pops up in a normal operation zone, we need to change something for 8 hours a day. And they're ever expanding. We're constantly adding new rules. So at a specific location, we have up to 50 plus rules that might impact how the bike will operate or what the user might see. So this is very difficult to manage for one, our operations team, city ops team, making sure that they've set up every region the way they expect it to. And also with our customer support team, who has to handle questions about, why did my bike not work here? Why can't I end my ride here? With our customers. So showed a little example of what our app looks like with some of these rules visible. You can see the gray areas are kind of no ride zones. We have some marketing material about renting a long-term bike, and then even just the pricing. So one of the big issues we had is, how do we make sure we're setting up our cities the way we were supposed to? So before our solution, we did a lot of manual verification, taking a bike out into the field, riding it around, trying to park it, trying to end it. Obviously, that's very time consuming. It's a one-off, it's for that moment, long feedback loop. So it wasn't consistent. Word of mouth. Like I said, these rules are dynamic. So somebody might change things, and then it becomes a Slack, an email, a person-to-person conversation. So that becomes inconsistent. Information isn't shared readily. And then finally, it's the swivel chair of tools that we call it, where we're looking at spreadsheets, we're looking at data dashboards, screenshots of what a city might look like in Orlando when I'm in LA, location spoofing, just all these kind of workarounds to really try and simulate what would it be like if I was in a specific location. So what we built, the goal was to allow team members to simulate the user experience based on any location. So if I'm sitting in LA, or if I'm sitting in San Francisco, what's happening in Madrid? Why is there issues with the bikes in Madrid? I think what's really cool about this is this wasn't a roadmap project. This was, and really a testament to Retool was, we as a product and engineering team kept getting requests about why is the bike doing this, and finding out that a config was set wrong or something like that. And so Zach, who I'm going to kick this off to, took it upon himself to build a tool to stop answering questions for himself. So maybe it's a little self-serving for him, but it's a tool that just got more information to our team members so they can make better decisions. He built it with Mapbox, which is sort of the map visualization, all of our existing API endpoints that basically simulated what the app looks like, and then DB queries. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Zach.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the tool itself. Like Pat said, we use the map component for this, and I kind of want to go through this as how an operations manager would use the tool, because they're responsible for all the rules, or majority of the rules on this map. So let's say they wanted to just turn off a block in Venice, so that no one can ride there for whatever reason. So we'll zoom in. We see all our GeoJSON here. These are all our regions. And the first thing they'll want to do is verify that the outside of the boundary they just made, that you can ride in it. So the center pin there is actually the center of the map, which is where we're going to query. And you can see that the configs have changed inside that box. Can ride is false. And then you can also see a big list of all these rules. So you can really dive deep and check and make sure that everything is working right for this region. You can also click a pin on the region for that GeoJSON and see the specific name of that region, and then query it in a table to see all the actual configs for that specific region, and filter based on anything you could possibly want to filter on, just to make sure everything is looking good. So there's the tool. What this let us do is, for one, obviously, we can go around anywhere on the map and query and check any of our regions, and there's a lot of them, which wasn't really possible before we built this tool. Besides just asking someone in that region to check their app, it also let us reduce the amount of errors by making a change and checking it real time. And it really just let everyone at the company get a lot more power under their fingertips to check and validate and do the due diligence on our regions. And as you can imagine, this led to launching cities a lot faster, because that's when we're making the majority of our regions in a city. So it really sped that up as well. And we have a couple things we want to add to this. Obviously, a search bar would be helpful. So just type in Venice Boardwalk and it'll go straight there. We also want to add actual ride data to just give a little bit of context and know like how rides are changing throughout the day. And then we also want to add some WebGL, so we can utilize the graphics card and load our regions a little faster on those really heavy screens. And that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach and Pat. Your tool is amazing and so interactive. We loved seeing it. Just a reminder to all the attendees that questions can be sent in using the Q&A feature in the bottom bar. You can direct questions to any of the panelists. They can answer it live in the chat or at the very end of all the presentations. If you have any Retool specific questions, our engineer Alex is on the call and would be happy to answer them. So with that, our next speaker is Tim, who is the VP of Product Ops and Customer Support at Archaeologic. Archaeologic creates digital representations of interior spaces. They share how they've built all of their business intelligence and management reporting in Retool. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you for the introduction. Give me just a second. I'll get my screen set up here. There we go. Well, before I share how Archaeologic is using Retool, I'd like to share a little bit about Archaeologic. If I can find the right screen, there we go. So first of all, we're a pretty small remote first company, and we're trying to tackle the big problem of making building information accessible to everyone. We have a web-based platform that empowers our customers by providing structural, spatial information for interior space. So we have some customers who use IoT and they combine that information and they can visually express what meeting room is available, what desk is available. Some other customers use it to make decisions on how quickly they need to reset a space to make COVID compliance. And because we've built the underlying spatial structure, we can generate highly detailed 3D models of a space really quickly. So this can help sales teams do virtual tours of a space. It can help design teams understand how that space is going to feel. Maybe doing test fits or layouts, which is pretty big in the design industry, all using a web-based platform. And the process to get to that state is fairly simple. You send us a plan, we convert it, and you have your model back within a couple days. It's pretty simple and fast. However, when you have questions about the volume of orders, or maybe how many models sit in which folders in what city, maybe how old the models are, maybe you want to know internally which models took longer to convert, that process really wasn't very straightforward. And getting those answers were pretty complex. Our process prior to Retool kind of looked like this. Someone would do a SQL query, drop it down into a CSV file, import it into our favorite spreadsheet, pivot, add some color, deliver it to the customer. And usually, or deliver it to whoever asked for it. And usually one question led to two questions, or very rarely was the first query we ran proper. In fact, many times we ended up with multiple spreadsheets or tabs inside of sheets, and sometimes even that information conflicted with itself. And trying to trace down where that error was or how you came to that query just became almost impossible. And that's kind of where we got introduced to Retool. I was looking for a simpler way to tackle BI reporting. I needed a tool to gain visibility into our production process. And I signed up for an account. And within about a couple hours, I was able to connect our database and easily put a chart together. Prior to this, I didn't write much code. I wasn't very well versed in how to make SQL queries, but I knew I had a static query that worked pretty good, and I was able to put this dashboard together. And this chart gave us visual confirmation that every other week was indeed busier than the previous week. So I was really excited about that, which led into the wild, wild west, where we started making apps for everything. We displayed everything. One app had maybe 60 unique queries inside of it. And the old issue of competing dashboards and competing data started to find its way back into this new tool. We were able to remedy that really quickly by using the centralized query library inside of Retool, which we love. So now we can have one of our data engineers write a query, introduce variables so we can make that query dynamic and usable by anyone in the company. And now with the new version control inside of the library, we're able to test new queries without affecting production or customer applications. And Here's a copy of one of the customer applications we use to display some of our customer data. It's dynamic to the customer's needs, so their data, only their data is displayed. But the logic that drives all this reporting is stable, and it's run from that centralized query, which is very nice. And we're starting to learn how to use the transformers built into Retool to really make one query display more information that's more relevant. And that's something new that we've been testing. Our conversion team now can actually run one single dashboard that displays the number of orders that we received, how long the orders are taking, where they're getting stuck in the process. Used to run this in multiple spreadsheets. We no longer use spreadsheets. And because of that, we have time to focus on ways to delight our customers and speed up our conversion process. So what's next? Well, our development team just released a major update on our space API. And we've been playing around with how we integrate that into Retool. Our customer success team's excited to build POCs to demonstrate how a customer's data coupled with our space API in Retool will give them a quick way to deploy solutions. We're also developing an application for our support team so they can get their ticket information and our order information into the same window. So they're focused in a singular tool, no more swivel chair between apps. And then lastly, we're going to try to focus on branding and cleaning it up, making it look polished. So Retool has really empowered us in a lot of ways we didn't think was possible. And we've been very happy with the application. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. I think what's special about what you've built is the very direct nature of impact onto your end customers, direct and immediate. So with that, our last speaker is Gonzalo. He's joining us from Spain, and he's the data lead at the PowerMBA. The PowerMBA is democratizing access to business education. Gonzalo has used Retool to create admin panels and empower their org with business intelligence. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Thank you so much. Hey all, I'm Gonzalo from the PowerMBA, and I'm going to explain in this presentation how Retool helps us to improve our data visualization layer. So first of all, I wanted to give a brief introduction about me and the PowerMBA. So I'm a computer science engineer that have been working in the PowerMBA as the data lead for the last year and a half, more or less. But what is the PowerMBA? Because in Spain, everybody knows the PowerMBA. It has been named the best Spanish startup in 2020 by LinkedIn, but maybe you don't know it. So the PowerMBA is a highly practical and up-to-date online program where you learn from the best for a minimal investment of time and money. So basically, you can buy an MBA, a master's degree, and you can have some of the best teachers of the world. For example, the co-founder of Netflix, Mark Randolph, the co-founder of YouTube, Steve Chen, or even the Spanish NBA superstar Pau Gasol. So this is the PowerMBA, and I'm going to explain the problem that we had. Basically, the PowerMBA has had a brutal growth over the last year and a half, 2 years. So all the systems that we had were really old, like we needed to improve them. In this case, I'm going to talk about the financial system. Basically, at the end of the month, I had to give the revenue that we had generated over the last month. And to do that, I had to go from all the payments gateway, for example, PayPal, Checkout, Stripe, etc., getting all the reports in order to generate this report. So I spent around 1 week to do that because there were a lot of providers, and this is the result that I got, a CSV. Apart from that, I uploaded this CSV to Wellseed in order to show the visualization. But in the long term, this wasn't an option because basically it was really old. So in order to improve that, we created this payment gateway, integrating more than 20 providers, for example, Coinbase, PayPal, Stripe, etc. And all the orders that the customers did here were arriving to a MongoDB database. So this is perfect. Everything worked fine. There are no errors anymore. But what is the problem right now? The problem is that we are not able to show the visualizations. Okay, so to solve that, we came up with Retool. Retool is the tool that is helping us to show this visualization, connecting directly to the MongoDB database to show real-time analytics. So I've recorded this demo for you so that you can see the system that we've built. This is the dashboard that I've created for the PowerMBA in order to solve the previous problem. In this first part, the orders of our database are shown, and this is really important for us, since any person in the company without technical knowledge, without knowing how to program, or even without knowing how to query a database, is going to be able to see this information in real time. As we have a lot of data, we can also filter by email, and we can download all the orders from a specific month. In this case, we can pick February and download them. In the second part of this dashboard, we have the data from the database aggregated in a way that we can show the monthly revenue, cash flow, and the programs that we have sold. This is also really relevant for us, as we couldn't see it in the old system. We could only see for the current month, as this is the report that I downloaded. In this tab, we can also filter by the parameters that we want. And in this case, for example, we are only going to filter by orders from the United States. So we get the revenue, cash flow, and programs from only United States. And finally, we have created the data visualization part, where anyone can see in real time the status of the company. This is very, very important for us, because thanks to this, we can make data-driven decisions. In this first chart, we can see the revenue comparison between 2020 and 2021. For example, we can see at a glance that in April of 2021, we sold more programs than in 2020. We also have the same chart for the cash flow and an aggregate with the sum of 2020 and 2001, both for the revenue and the cash flow as well. And this is the part that I'm most proud of. We can filter the revenue by different parameters. You just need to pick a month, and we can filter by society, by shop. For example, we can see that all the orders, or most of them, are entering from this payment gateway that we've implemented, by region, by provider. So this gives us a really good insight to see how the customers are buying our product. And we can also see the revenue divided by country. So most of the programs that we are selling are from Spain. This is the dashboard that and this is basically the solution that we built in order to help the financial team, but we've also built more solutions. These are a couple more of solutions that we've built, and I want to show them because we spent less than 20 minutes to build them. Okay, so for example, in the case of salespeople, they have to send a link to the customers, okay, to buy a program. In this case, they only have to pick this solution, the program, and they can directly generate a link that they are going to send to the students or the future users. Okay, so they pick the programs that they want to sell, they copy this link, and yeah, they send it to the lead. Once the lead have the link, they open the browser and they can buy the program. This is another solution that we created, and here we have the aggregate of all the products that contain the word attached, and this is the aggregate of the sales that we've done. At the same, as I said before, this is connecting to the database, so everything is updated in real time. And coming back to the financial system, I want to explain the difference again between the old system and the new one. So basically, the time to get the reports were 40 hours per month in the last system, because I had to be involved in that. It also had different errors because it was a manual process, and always manual process can have different errors. We weren't able to give real-time analytics, as I spent a lot of time to build it, and it has no business impact. It only gave the number of programs that were sold. With the new system and with the help of Retool, we are generating this report in 0 minutes, okay? Because this is everything in real time, as I said before, and this is automatically done. So basically there are no errors, and it has a really, really high business impact because we can finally make data-driven decisions. So what is next? The next steps are to improve the dashboard. Basically, we are showing the programs that we are selling, but we also want to show the money that we are spending in marketing campaigns so that we can have all the financial information in the same place. We also want to help other departments and build internal tools for the IT department as well. And basically, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gonzalo. I love how you're using Retool to help all the stakeholders in your company make data-driven decisions and share those insights with all of your stakeholders. So that concludes our demos for today. Thank you to all of the speakers for the amazing demos. We will move on to Q&A. I saw some questions peppering into both the chat and the Q&A. So I believe we've started answering some of them, but if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A feature. And if your question is to a specific speaker, once again, just call them out so that I will direct the question to them, or we can answer it in the chat.